curiously enough, although I have posted a video of how to change the oil in this car, I neglected to watch it before changing the oil again in the car and managed to drain the transmission fluid. So I'm sure I'm not the first person to do that, and as it has about 50,000 miles on it, apparently now is a good time to change the transmission fluid anyways. So what I would recommend is that you go to your Google, put in manual transmission fluid Audi S4, and try to get to this article, which is, I don't know if you could see it, it's a great article, and unfortunately I don't know who posted it, but it's everything you want to know about transmission fluids and their relationship to the Audi S4. The long and the short of it is that it says, here I'll read, the key piece of information here is that you need GL4. You cannot, I repeat, cannot use GL5 fluid. And then he made some recommendations based on a lot of research as to what particular fluid to use, and I found it very difficult to find anything, and ended up going and getting the OEM stuff from Audi, which frankly, if I had known how not expensive it was going to be, I would have just gone there in the first place. This is what these bottles look like. It's piece number G052911A2, and I don't know if you'll be able to read this, but it was $26.50 per bottle. He told me at the parts counter, initially he looked and he said, well, it's 3 liters is what it takes. So this is 3 liters. The gentleman who wrote this said it was 3.5 quarts, so I figured that was about equivalent. Although when I had the parts guy look again, I think it said 3.2. So I bought 3 liters of it. I probably should have bought 4. I'm going to use a clean receptacle and reserve a little bit, 200 milliliters, just so that I can top it off. Aside from the oil, you're going to need to get a jack to get under your S4, a jack stand, and a torque wrench, so you know how to, you don't want to over torque those bolts on the transmission. And you're going to need a regular ratchet wrench with a, well, you may be able to get by with a, this is a 10 millimeter, I don't know if you can read it, but it's a 10 millimeter Allen socket that I have, which is really handy for not only the oil drain plug, but for the transmission drain plug. I guess it would have been more handy if it had been the star bolt like on some of the other ones, but mine used the same, and that's how I drained the wrong thing. You're going to need a thing to catch your oil in. Most people are going to need a flat-bladed screwdriver to get that, to get the panel off underneath. Unfortunately, my panel, as you can probably see, has been taken care of last winter by all the snowfall that we had around here, and I managed to rip this one off my car. So at the moment, there is none. Okay, so I got the jack stand and the jack under there so I don't crush myself. Now I'm going to climb underneath here, and I think the helpful tidbit I just read was to loosen the filler hole plug first. The thought being that if you have a problem and it gets stripped out and you can't open it, it's a lot better to know about that while there's transmission fluid still in your transmission. So the transmission fill plug is up here on the driver's side of the transmission, and you can see it right up there. Let's see, right there, and it should go this way. Make sure it's pushed all the way in there so you don't strip it out. It shouldn't be too hard. Oh. All right, so it's loose now. It wasn't quite as dramatic as maybe that all looked. Okay, so that one's loose. Now, I've never done this before, so I hope I don't screw it up, because I think transmissions cost at least $100 or $200 to replace on this car. And now when I noticed that the oil coming out of my car was not warm, it was a clue to me. Lost my plug here. Now it's all covered with dirt. Great. Clue to me that I had loosened the wrong bolt. So I put it back in before it all came out. But I'm gonna measure out in a clean container because I'm gonna reserve some just in case. Oh, okay, that's plenty. Okay, I'm gonna fish my drain plug out of this with a magnet that I put on the end of a bolt. But I don't know if you'll be able to see this, and I'm not sure how this will compare, I guess, to the new oil. But I don't know. It's got 50,000 miles on it. Like I said, it's pretty black. I don't see any like gross pieces of metal or anything in there. I would just like to note there is no washer, crushable or otherwise, that was on this plug, I hope. Maybe it fell off the first time I took it off. I should probably check. Okay, I talked to the awesome mechanics down at Anderson Motorsports in Chanhassen, Minnesota, who told me they didn't think there was a washer of any sort on this transmission. So I'm going to believe them because they're pretty awesome. But there is a 26-pound torque spec. So I'm going to use our torque wrench. Okay, we're going to torque that down to 26 foot-pounds. This is very much. No tighter than that, I guess. Let's see. Okay, now we have to fill it up, which is more of a challenge, I think. These bottles have an interesting top on them. You can see how it's got a funnel built into it here. That just pops right off. Helps it to fill it up. You can hook that up to your hose. The other thing that you're going to need is a length of tubing about 4 feet long. This is 3/8, and it doesn't really fit, but I heated up I heated it up and stretched it out over the top of it. It seemed to work fine. And then I was able to run it down where the back of the engine is. Down here there's some daylight. Ends up in a perfect spot down there. You're going to need to put that into the fill hole, and it'll go in a little ways there. You don't want it to fall out while you're filling it. Just put a hole in that, make it run out a little better. There. That helped. You can see the level. See it's going in there. Alright. Just reusing this funnel here rather than hooking the new bottle up to its funnel. Just going to hook it up this way. Turn it in, give it some air. That extra 200 milliliters seemed to do the trick. It's full up to the top, so if I stick my finger in the hole. Comes back oily. So we've got our transmission full. 3.2 is probably an accurate figure. I want to get all this oil wiped off here so I can tell if there are any leaks. And then we'll put our plug back in carefully by hand. We don't strip anything. And once we get that back in, the torque specs that I've seen are 18 foot-pounds of torque on that. So it's not very tight at all, guys. Yeah. I wonder if I'm going to be able to get this torque wrench on that. Nope. So the torque wrench doesn't fit on there, so I'm just going to have to guess